Hey, everybody. Welcome to my live ramblings. Going to be an interesting night. I got a few things to go over. I want to go over my not for profit that I've been working on. I've been posting mostly on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and it's hard to capture in like a 30-second or 3-minute TikTok video exactly what I'm doing. So part of starting this not for profit was building up a mission statement and some information packages to give out to artists, venues, and promoters just to spread the word so they know what they're all about and it's all in one easily accessible document. So I'm going to be going over that. So that'll give a lot of information on exactly what I'm doing because a lot of people have a lot of questions about it when I talk about it. It's a pretty lofty thing I'm trying to do. So yeah, just put it all in one package. We'll go over it. I got some interesting music news as well. We'll go over that. There's a few things, of course, from Live Nation Ticketmaster because they're all over the news right now. But also, something really interesting is investment firms are buying up music catalogs. So, not to sound like a doomsday prophet, but when the music was in the hands of big entertainment companies that held monopolies, if you thought that was bad, wait till these investment firms get a hold of things and know nothing about the industry and they're just in it solely for the money. It's not even a little bit about the art anymore. And then I have a very special Valentine's Day surprise for a very special someone in my life. I'll be airing that as well. Looking forward to that. And we'll also do a Q&A near the end. And then episode 3, I do new episodes every Friday of the Hostile Jakeover podcast. And then tonight on the live streams, I'm going to try to do a live stream every Thursday, and then that'll roll right into the release of a Hostile Jakeover episode. So I have a link to the episode 3 premiere. I'll post that link in the chat at the end, and then we can all go over there. We can watch episode 3, and we can all chat back and forth while we're watching that. So lots to go through. I believe 2 hours is when the episode 3 goes live, and that's the premiere. So we'll try to go a bit slower and go through things in some detail because there is a lot to go over. But I'm going to start with some music news, and then we'll get over to the not-for-profit side of things. So let me just pull up my information here. And here we go. Everything's working. All right, so this is a video. It's really well put together by another YouTuber, Illuminati. Um, Very impressed with this video. It's easy to understand. It's very well put together, well edited. She Illuminati does a lot of different videos, not music specific, but this one was very impressive. They're a very good journalist and they put together a great information package. So we'll go over this. We can pause if there's any questions and we can go over things in a bit more detail and maybe with a bit more insight into the music industry. So here we go.
Taylor Swift is one of the most well-known pop stars out there, and she hasn't been on tour in about 4 years. Whether you love her or hate her, or maybe somewhere in between, there's absolutely no denying the impact she's had on the music industry. So, expectedly, when she announced the Eras Tour, fans were scrambling to buy tickets. They paid exorbitant prices, and these are the ones that even got the chance to buy tickets in the first place. Julia told her followers on YouTube that she paid $600 for a ticket that was in line with a side of the stage, and she wasn't sure it was going to even have a good view. Others shared videos of their screens where tickets were on sale for upwards of $20,000. Timeouts, waits of 9 hours to get tickets, or waiting 6 to 8 hours just to be told that they were sold out was all common. You'd think that with this much chaos to get tickets, there would be an apparent reason. Maybe the site went down or the general public just broke it, right? Well, no, not exactly. Instead, the website where this all took place, Ticketmaster, wasn't even open to the general public at this time. All of this mayhem and madness happened during the pre-sale, when fans were invited to buy tickets absolutely swarmed Ticketmaster. About 3.5 million people pre-registered during Taylor Swift's verified fan sale. And of those 3.5 million, 1.5 were invited, while 2 million were just waitlisted. And this was done to prevent bot attacks, though this plan clearly didn't work out all that well when the site was flooded with them, to the point that Ticketmaster blamed bot attacks for this fiasco in the first place.
So when I watched the trial, and or not the trial, the investigation, they were talking a lot about the site going down and the bot attacks. One of the main reasons the site went down is they put every show on sale all at once, instead of doing one show one day and then the next day do another show. Everything went on sale. So that's why they had millions and millions of people. It would have been far easier to manage had they have just put tickets on sale kind of as the show was routed. So the first stop goes on sale, and then down the line. So everyone talked a lot about the bot attacks and the just millions of fans, but and blamed the demand. But Ticketmaster should have known that, and they know what their site can handle, and they know how many tickets they're selling. So it was just kind of poor decision making, more so than the bots, I'd say.
And truthfully, it just sounds like they weren't prepared at all, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Typically, what we'll hear is some shallow corporate apology, a few days of angry tweets, and then the world moves on to the next thing to be mad at. And to some extent, yeah, that's kind of exactly what happened. Ticketmaster said, quote, "We want to apologize to Taylor and all her fans, especially those who had a terrible experience trying to purchase tickets." And just FYI, Ticketmaster, saying "we want to apologize" isn't actually much of an apology. It kind of sounds like a "sorry if your feelings got hurt" type of apology instead of actually taking responsibility, but again, just my opinion here. Anyway, though I'm sure Ticketmaster hoped this would just blow over, this debacle was so ridiculous that authorities got involved. The LA Times published an article questioning if the government may actually take the crackdown on bots seriously. Entertainment, the parent company, is being investigated by the Justice Department. And to top it off, some senators say that the Live Nation and Ticketmaster merger that created LNE in the first place needs to be undone. And look, this is America. It's hard to get the government to take any shady business all that seriously, especially when, they're usually deeply entrenched in it themselves. So you better believe that if they're looking into a concert ticket company, things have to be pretty terrible. But just how terrible are they? Well, that's what we're going to try and find out today.
The monopoly.
Hello and welcome to the Corporate Casket. I'm the Illuminati, and today we're going to be chatting about Live Nation Entertainment, the behemoth that is Ticketmaster and Live Nation. Here's the first important piece that you have to recognize about this merger. Everybody actually dreaded it. And okay, maybe not like everyone. I know if I speak in broad strokes here, there's going to be one random comment somewhere that's like, "well, actually," but I think most of you get my point because most of you are pretty sensible folks. This was pretty much a bad idea from the start, is really the point that I want to drill.
So I remember when this merger happened, and around this time was when I started talking to my buddy Luke Westlake about this new way of ticketing. I was promoting shows at the time, and Luke was an audio engineer, and we had worked a bunch of shows together. We became really good friends, and we always had these chats about the way the music industry was going, how hard it was to kind of do business as smaller operators, and working for these larger companies and larger promoters. There's lots of problems other than tickets and how they deal with artists, all of the same practices that everyone's upset about the artists and the tickets. It goes down to all the workers too. So people like me and people like my buddy Luke, who also, may not get treated or paid the best or paid what we deserve. Um, there's a lot of problems with a company like this who is solely profit driven and cuts corners and cuts labor costs and tries to hire the cheapest crew around instead of getting crew that is well trained and safe. So this merger was very much a topic of conversation all over the industry. Everyone thought it was a bad idea, even though it's technically not a monopoly on paper. It, we all knew what it meant, and we all knew how dominating Ticketmaster was, and we all knew how dominating Live Nation was. So for the two of them to go together, everybody knew it was going to get worse. So it was really a buzz in the whole entertainment world, not just from artists and promoters, but anyone who works for promoters or with or around promoters or in the industry. Really nobody thought it was a good idea, maybe except for the investors and stakeholders at Live Nation Ticketmaster.
Real home here. Live Nation was the world's biggest concert promoter, and Ticketmaster was the leading ticket provider back in 2010 when they joined forces. So, gee, I wonder why anyone would be concerned about that, right? It's pretty obvious that this was an attempt to corner the market and kind of become a little mini monopoly. Plus, as a little added bonus to everyone involved, it eliminated some competition right from the start. You see, Live Nation, which was founded in 1996, had intentions to start selling tickets, and Ticketmaster, founded 20 years prior, also acquired Frontline Management, an artist management and representation firm. So while Live Nation was obviously more known for promotion and Ticketmaster for tickets, this put the two companies neck and neck. But hey, why promote healthy competition when you can just become an unbeatable giant instead? Well, that's pretty much what they tried to do here. But don't just try to blame the merger for playing Monopoly, though. Ticketmaster had complaints about being anti-competitive years before they joined forces with Live Nation. Back in 1994, Pearl Jam sued them for buying up competitors and abusing their marketplace dominance by demanding high service fees and signing exclusive deals with major concert venues.
So what Ticketmaster does is when it says these exclusive deals with major concert venues, they'll sign long-term exclusivity contracts where if I own a venue and I am selling tickets, I'm only able to use Ticketmaster. So if I have an artist that wants to come play, but they don't want to use Ticketmaster, they want to use Eventbrite or any other competitor, Brown Paper Tickets. There's a bunch of smaller ticketing companies that the artist kind of has a bit more control over their deal with the ticket seller. So they're not able to use them because in a lot of venues, I think they have 60 or 70% of the market share in this. So they are in a lot of venues and they do have long contracts. I've heard up to 10 years they'll lock a venue in for their ticket exclusive ticket rights. So you could see that poses a problem for a lot of venues, promoters, and artists when they really have no choice, and the other choices are going with a much smaller competitor. And when they do that, then there was talk in the hearing that Ticketmaster and Live Nation just went through that some of their competitors were showing statistics from venues who went with other ticketing options, and then they got less Ticketmaster or Live Nation promotions. So if a venue goes with another ticket seller, then they're not going to be receiving a lot of the Live Nation promotions, which is a large chunk of the industry as well. And, not quite a monopoly, but they have a dominant market share in live concerts. So let's say, I believe it's around 60%. So if a venue goes with another ticketing platform, there's a chance, now it's all hearsay and, a competitor saying one thing, Ticketmaster saying another, but if the venues are saying they're getting less Live Nation concerts if they go with another ticketing firm other than Ticketmaster. So as a promoter or a venue, you can see how that is a really tough spot to be in. Do I go with another ticketing competitor that might be a little bit more fair, offers the artists a bit more money, a bit more transparency in the costs and where all the fees are coming from and where they're going to, or they go with Ticketmaster, and then they're also, in some kind of union with Live Nation Ticketmaster, and they're going to probably get more shows. So that's kind of what they were talking about in the hearing, and it wasn't for sure. Live Nation Ticketmaster had some rebuttals to these statements, but some of the statements that they made were pretty damning to Live Nation and Ticketmaster. There were emails. I think the one quote was that they would go nuclear, and like, if you watch the full trial, you'll hear that remark from one of Ticketmaster's competitors. But that's what these exclusive deals are about, is Live Ticketmaster locking in a venue for upwards of 10 years to exclusively use their services. And of course, again, like 30 years ago, Pearl Jam was talking about the kind of shadier business practices of Live Nation. And I have some other articles about the same kind of shady business practices, illegal business practices, and even times that they were fined for these shadier business practices. We'll get to that after this video, though.
Leaving consumers and artists with no alternative. Sure, there are other companies like Eventbrite, Tickets.com, SeatGeek, and StubHub, but all those competitors share only 30% of the pie for tickets and live events. 20% if we're talking about live concerts. Therefore,
so those numbers in the trial, they were bouncing back and forth a little bit on them, but I guess you could always say that Ticketmaster has at least half of the market in both ticketing and promotions. Whether it's 60% or 70% in those areas, I'm not sure. I'm not good with statistics or how to pull that information. It's a lot of information to pull, but a lot of the experts kind of hover around 60 to 70% is typically where everyone's landing.
8 times out of 10, if you want to see your favorite musician perform, you will be using Ticketmaster. The writing was on the wall, the accusations about being a monopoly had been made, but the Department of Justice didn't move on this Pearl Jam versus Ticketmaster case. I bet they're kind of kicking themselves for that now, and if not, they really should be. If Ticketmaster were running their business in an honest, fair, and responsible manner, then maybe my complaints would be minimal. Someone could easily argue, hey, they're not a monopoly because they swallow up everyone else. Maybe they're just a master at selling tickets. That's why they're called Ticketmaster, right? But that's not how monopolies in the US work. You thought ethics would win the day? More like how much you own and what you can get away with. Concerns about Ticketmaster crippling competitors in the ticket business were in full swing as the years passed by. But as the New York Times wrote in 2018, feds tried to reassure the skeptics. They told the public not to worry because they had a strict policy in place for the merger approval and they were really going to hold Live Nation Entertainment to it, just like they held Ticketmaster accountable in 1994, apparently. Quote,
A lot of the the hearing was about specifically the investigations and the hearings that took place leading up to the Live Nation Ticketmaster merger. Probably about a quarter of the whole hearing, that was about 3 hours long, pertained to the agreements that Live Nation and Ticketmaster had made with the antitrust committees and the senators and government officials. So there were certain plans put in place, there were certain rules put in place where Ticketmaster would have to and Live Nation would have to allow competitors and venues to use other ticketing services and not have so many exclusive contracts and things like that. I found it kind of a little hard to find that information. I tried to research it and figure out exactly what the stipulations of the merger were in place, but I couldn't find them anywhere. What I did see, though, was in the hearing, the panel discussing things that were agreed on that were absolutely not followed. So the short and skinny of it is Live Nation, Ticketmaster made agreements with the last hearing leading up to the merger, and they said, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And they said, we don't want you to merge these companies because it could be a monopoly and it's bad for competitors. And so Live Nation and Ticketmaster made all these agreements that would make it more fair to competitors and have a more open market. And all through the hearing, it kept going back to this, saying this was supposed to happen, this didn't happen. Now, what happens is, when the part of the reason why I'm doing this whole thing is because I see what the government tries to do with legislation and law, and they're kind of tied because they'll try to take action by doing an investigation or a hearing like they've done and kind of bring it into the public eye a bit and have that kind of support. But what happens, and what they said in the hearing, there was one representative from the antitrust investigation on the panel, and she was explaining that they want to extend the investigation and keep it in the public eye, but not necessarily take Ticketmaster to trial, because if they take them to trial, it's risky, and if they lose, then that sets legal precedents for them to continue doing this. So the government is kind of scared to take Ticketmaster or Live Nation to trial and try it in a court. So they do it in these hearings and these Department of Justice investigations, and use the media and public opinion to maybe try to sway some better business practices. But what happens is, with these hearings and things, the Live Nation just ties up in litigation, and they can do whatever they want, really. It happens in every business that has a strong legal team. Like Ticketmaster was founded by a lawyer, so they know their way around business. They know all of the right loopholes, and that's why they continue to get away with this. And that's why that these DOJ investigations and these hearings and trials do next to nothing to stop it.
There will be enough air and sunlight in this space for strong competitors to take root, grow, and thrive, said the country's top antitrust
So this is
regulator,
what they were
Assistant
saying in
Attorney
the
General Christine A.
antitrust.
Varney. And she went further, suggesting that reduced ticket service fees, even lower ticket prices, might be on the horizon. And Varney, I know you wanted to give people hope, but who the hell are we fooling here exactly? What company practically doubles in size and then lowers its prices? Unsurprisingly here, she was proven wrong. Their 80% slice of the pie remains, ticket prices are at record highs, no competitor has been able to touch them, and now the DOJ has decided, gee willikers, maybe we should have taken action sooner. Like, no shit, dumbass. And now, I do like Pearl Jam. Not my favorite band in the whole world, but I do like me some Pearl Jam from time to time. And I have to give them a hand here. They saw the writing on the wall back in 1994, long before anyone else did. It's unfortunate that it's taken so long before the Justice Department has decided to act because now it feels like it's too late. Apparently, Varney was offered a chance to comment now that it's become clear that they really shouldn't have shepherded this agreement, as the New York Times puts it. But Varney declined to comment. Maybe she just wants to forget this as much as we wish we could. Now, Ticketmaster sounds like some kind of mob boss spinning on a leather chair with a white cat in their lap whenever they talk to artists. According to one complaint, the Gwinnett Center switched to AEG, Ticketmaster's top competitor, around 2013. Then, out of the blue, they didn't receive an expected booking from the band Matchbox 20. Gwinnett's booking director told Live Nation not to abandon them, and if there was an issue, he'd be willing to address it. Live Nation, in true mob boss sounding fashion, wrote back, quote, "Issue? 3 letters. Can you guess what they are?" And I'm pretty sure they're referring to AEG as the 3 letters in question. I bet whatever Live Nation coordinator wrote this thought they sounded cool as hell, but in reality, they sounded like a toddler throwing a tantrum. And let's be clear here, as childish and pathetic as this all sounds, there seems to be a lot of evidence that Live Nation Entertainment operates through threats. AEG says that other venues they've managed have said that they'll lose valuable shows if Ticketmaster wasn't used as the vendor. Gwinnett's tours were cut in half, supposedly a routine fluctuation, despite the Gwinnett booking director stating he warned the center would be put in a literal boycott for choosing a competitor. And this, by the way, violates antitrust laws if it's true, and AEG has forwarded these emails to justice officials as evidence. I know it's hard to feel bad for stadium.
So that there, Ticketmaster has emailed venues stating they will lose revenue streams from concerts if they don't use Ticketmaster as their venue. So AEG, who is a promoter, took these emails and sent them to the Department of Justice, and nothing has happened. This was a policy put in place for the merger to happen, and they have clearly violated it. And without a doubt, you can see the emails, you can see the names of the people on them, and nothing has happened. They're in clear violation, and nothing is happening. So when I say I do not trust the government to do anything about this, this is what I mean, because they have the information and they will not do it. If they did it, it would set a precedence for other companies, oil companies, other media companies, like Disney, who owns a very large market share in their industry. Airlines, the same thing. So if they bring down the hammer on Ticketmaster, that opens up the floodgates to go after these other businesses who are big lobbyists, who put a lot of money into political parties. And so I do not trust the government to solve this issue through any kind of law or any kind of I'm not sure what they're called, but when they have a hearing and they make rules to, it's not technically law, but anyways, so I just do not trust the government to solve this problem, which is why I'm starting this whole thing, because if the government's not going to do it, if other competitors can't do it, and if Live Nation won't do it, and Ticketmaster won't do it, then what's left to do? All these other companies are the same as Live Nation. They're profit driven. They're if they were in that top seat, they would probably be doing the same thing. It's just the way that corporations work. They have obligations to their shareholders. They have to make a profit. They have to not only make a profit but grow that profit, because the shareholders have to see growth. Otherwise, investments don't make sense. If they're not growing, it's not an investment. It's just putting money somewhere and being stagnant. So the government's doing nothing. Live Nation, Ticketmaster won't do anything at all because they have no reason to. There's no force to. If any artist talks out against them or venue talks out against them, they can just write them out. They don't have to book their shows. They don't have to, and that's, over 50% of the industry. So if you're not going to play ball with them, you're losing out on basically 50% of what you can do.
Millionaire artists and CEOs of possible competitors. But it's not only the big people and big businesses involved here. Let's take a look at the little guy and how they've been treated by Live Nation Entertainment too.
And we'll just skip this ad here.
Start your new adventure in Hogwarts.
Sorry.
While what happened to Taylor Swift was ridiculous, frustrating, and upsetting, I'd argue that what happens to smaller musicians is even worse. At the end of the day, Taylor Swift is going to be absolutely fine. She's not going to have to worry about breaking even and what fees Ticketmaster is going to charge in the same way a local band.
So what people don't know as well is you hear a lot about like Taylor Swift like does all her own stuff and everything, and it's just such a weird thing that I've heard people say. But Taylor Swift is managed by the Live Nation umbrella. So she is as deep as you can get with the Live Nation Ticketmaster corporation. It's you can't be any more in business than what Taylor Swift is. She's managed by them, she's promoted by them, and all of the ticket sales go through Ticketmaster. So it's complete control of her entire career that this company has. Maybe she's got like a record label or something. I'm not too sure, but they basically, Taylor Swift is just their property, really.
Well, her situation is shining a spotlight on these shady dealings because she has the platform to do so. It's affected a wide audience. Unfortunately, smaller creators have dealt with this questionable company too, and they don't have the platform to gain attention. Let's take a look at some of these experiences, like from the band Lawrence. Clyde Lawrence, the leader of the band, wrote an op-ed on the New York Times a few months ago, explaining that the controversy around Taylor Swift is only the tip of the iceberg. He's been so frustrated by Live Nation Entertainment that one of the lyrics.
Clyde Lawrence was also in the Live Nation Ticketmaster hearing that just took place. He was one of the people on the panel, along with a member of the DOJ, somebody from SeatGeek, and the CEO of Ticketmaster, as well as another promoter competitor. I had never heard of him before, but he was also there. So Clyde Lawrence was the star of the whole hearing. There was a lot of back and forth between the Live Nation, Ticketmaster, and their competitors, and then there was a lot of talk from all of the senators that were there that really know nothing about the business, and they were just kind of saying really grandiose things about bots and weird stuff, things that really can't be dealt with in the manner that they think they can. So Clyde was really awesome because he just broke it down in very plain English, saying, here's our problem, this is an example of our problem, and the reason for this problem is Live Nation and Ticketmaster. He was talking about, like, he did one show where Live Nation, as the promoter and the venue, charged him like $300 or something for band towels. Which is crazy. Like, most bands get towels to go on stage, so when they come off stage, they can wipe themselves down. You usually get about a dozen of them, say. And I'm not too sure how big Lawrence is, Clyde's band, but I'm sure there wasn't, say, 50 towels. So even if there were 50 towels, that's a lot of money for towels. So, he gave very specific examples of that. He broke down one of the concerts, and it just showed that, like, Live Nation Ticketmaster was making more money off of the show than the artist was, which is really crazy because most of the expenses, like, go to the artist, and most of the all of the costs from the promoter and the venue are kind of recouped before the artist starts kind of collecting money off of ticket sales. So he really broke it down into very simple words that even the senators could understand, which was really kind of interesting because he was the only one who kind of brought any, I guess, progress to the conversation, because I think that the senators don't really understand exactly how these contracts work and how, they don't really understand the difference between, like, say, like, Live Nation or putting on a show at, like, a venue that they don't own, and a venue that they do own, and then, like, the cost differences and things like that. I'm sure, like, in little ways they understand, but I don't think they understand the scope of exactly what happens when you are the artist manager, the artist manager, the venue, and the promoter. So yeah, I just really never felt at any moment of the whole hearing that the senators kind of adjudicating it were had any real understanding. There was a member of the DOJ in the panel, and they had a little bit of knowledge on it, but Clyde Lawrence was definitely the star of the whole thing, and the person who really made people understand. And he was the only one that kind of went viral after the hearing. You saw all over social media clips of him kind of sticking it to them. So that was pretty cool. I really have a lot of respect for Clyde Lawrence for putting himself out there and, fighting the good fight, and, doing so at the risk of himself and his livelihood and his band. So I hope he gets nothing but love and support from all of this, and I hope he's still able to have a career, even though he is really taking this fight to Live Nation Ticketmaster. He should really be celebrated.
Lyrics in his song False Alarms downright calls the company a monopoly. Even if the Department of Justice has been so hesitant in the past to go after them and classify them as such, if it acts like a monopoly, talks like a monopoly, and crushes competitors like a monopoly, it's probably a fucking monopoly. As for Lawrence, here's what working with this company looks like. If his group plays a sold-out show at a Live Nation owned and operated venue, the fixed fee the venue takes will already eat into a lot of the money they make. In his hypothetical example, it costs $30,000 for this fixed fee or house nut, another $10,000 for marketing, and even $250 for clean towels. And I tell you what, if you're paying $250 for some clean towels, those towels better be made out of, like, the finest cotton in the world at that price, because that is insane. I've seen what towels go for on Amazon. I literally am in the middle of moving and had to buy some towels, so they do not cost $200.
So the whole towel thing, like, most venues or most promoters, they basically charge a small fee, like basically the fee that, like, a laundromat would charge for cleaning the towels, because it's a venue service, so they should charge for it. But, you know, $250 is just really stealing from the artist. You know, they probably have a cleaner that goes through that gets paid minimum wage, and those towels are making more money than that cleaner at that venue is getting paid.
$50. Once all of that has been deducted, the remainder is then split between Live Nation and the band, with a profit of about $12 per $30 ticket. Live Nation has claimed that artists receive a majority of ticket sales, but if you know elementary school math, you'll know that 12 is not the majority of 30. Maybe the Live Nation CEO, Michael Rapino, just passed that lesson in 4th grade, but it doesn't matter, I guess, because he's the CEO of a company, so who the fuck needs math, right? Anyway, let's move on. Lawrence continues that in this hypothetical, fans didn't pay $30 for a ticket, they actually paid $42 because of the substantial ticket fee. Quote, so of the $42 a fan spent on a ticket, the artist received $12. And from that $12, the artist needs to pay for touring costs such as lodging, transportation, and its own touring crew. That's roughly 50%. So that leaves $6 for the artist, in our case, an 8-piece band. Keep in mind that's pre-tax, and we pay for our own health insurance. So that's barely $1 a person when you get down to it. Don't get me wrong, if Lawrence is selling out stadiums with tens of thousands of seats, that's still a lot of cash rolling in, but that's not really the case for low or mid-level bands. I wonder how fans would feel if they actually saw these kinds of breakdowns. Probably not too thrilled at Live Nation Entertainment, I'd bet. Now, I can guess what some bands and even Ticketmaster themselves would say. They don't make a ton of money at these concerts either. And if Ticketmaster ever showed you a breakdown or settlement sheet after a show, then maybe you would believe this. But as Lawrence explains, this actually does not include their fees, bar sales, and merchandise sales, meaning these companies could make a significant amount more than what they're willing to admit to the band's faces. After all, it's not a good look when this titan of industry is reporting record revenues. And I do mean record.
So yeah, it's no secret that Live Nation Ticketmaster is making insane profits. But other things that they'll say they don't make money on the show, which, you know, is not true at all, but they can hide it. And the way they hide it is they'll make show expenses like venue rent, say, but that venue rent is part of their venue. So like that's still going to their company. So like the promoter is not making money, but the venue is. And then the venue's also making, like they said, alcohol sales, parking, all sorts of different concessions. And the other thing is sponsorship. Shows all the time have huge sponsorships, and that isn't really in the show settlement between the promoter and the artist. So, yeah, sure, on the piece of paper they give to the artist, there's all sorts of line items on it for costs, but you wouldn't see, oh yeah, we got a sponsorship and we use that for the whatever. And it's so there's lots of ways that Live Nation as a promoter and the venue can kind of hide money, move things around, upcharge, like the towels, for instance. So, when they say they don't make money, it's just absolutely false, because one, they wouldn't be in it if they weren't making money. Two, they wouldn't be paying out their shareholders if they weren't making money. And you wouldn't see numbers like you see on the screen here of record profits if they weren't making money on shows.
Revenues, 66% more in 2022 than in 2019 at over $6 billion. And this is all while smaller and mid-level artists repeatedly have to cancel tours because the cost is too high. If Ticketmaster were really on these artists' sides, then they should be feeling the impact too, right? But strangely enough, it's only the artists that are struggling. Now, this isn't to say that Ticketmaster has never...
I wouldn't say it's only the artists struggling. The venues and smaller promoters are struggling too. It's literally everybody in the industry except Live Nation, Ticketmaster, some larger management companies, agents, booking agencies, and who else? did I not mention? Anyways, just a handful of people, but it's all these big companies that like either their management or Live Nation, Ticketmaster, or booking agents and record companies. The large record companies. They're all making money, but literally no one else is. I'm sure if you look back, 10, 15, 20 years in wherever city you live, there was venues all over the place that were operating. They were full. The venue was making money, selling in concessions, selling booze. The artists were making money, getting a fair percentage of ticket sales and merchandise. And then the promoter was making money, and there were a lot of like little local promoters that would put on shows. It wasn't one promoter like Live Nation doing a show, every single show all the way across the country. It was, there were different promoters. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing in theory. It's nice to have like a consistent tour all across the country. But before, when a tour would kind of go to, say, Vancouver and Calgary and Edmonton, and that they had one promoter that was like a West Coast promoter, and then it got to the prairies and there was a different promoter for the Regina and Saskatoon shows, and then it got to Ontario and there was a few different promoters because there's a few pretty big regions where people can operate here. There was a couple promoters here, and then the East Coast might have had some different promoters, so that like when an artist went on a tour across the country, they might have dealt with 6 or 7 promoters. Now they're just dealing with one, and it's like that. It plays a huge role in the dominant market share of Live Nation as a promoter. It also helps artists in a way by having that consistency throughout their tour, but that comes at a cost to the entire industry. I really think the level of service, from one promoter to another is minimal, and the amount of work is minimal. And if there was fair and equal opportunity, the money would be making would be greater. So you could kind of afford to, have 5 conversations when advancing a tour as opposed to one. There's ways around it, and like Ticketmaster will make up any excuse to say, oh well, we give this service to the artist by providing them support all the way through a tour. Well, like, it's a small industry. We all know each other. Like it's very easy to provide that same service that Ticketmaster is providing, given the opportunity, but nobody has the opportunity. So, it's just a huge problem for Ticketmaster or Live Nation to be kind of that big of a promoter and have that much market, not only market control, but control over an entire tour, as opposed to having all these smaller promoters, all these smaller venues. Like they're all gone. Like all of those smaller promoters are gone. All the venues are gone. There's only large venues that are operating, and anyway, even some large venues, they're running profit, or they're paper thin profit margins, because it's just so expensive to run a venue. It's far more expensive than being a promoter. Like a promoter, you need like a little office space somewhere. A venue, you need to have security and cleaning staff every night and bartenders, and it's just there's so much more operations that go into a venue than a promoter. So it's like, my point is that all of these little tiny venues are gone. They're struggling. I don't think what she said was like true about the art. Like the artists are struggling because it's literally everyone in the industry, not just the artists. It's really only Live Nation, Ticketmaster, and the bigger venues that say have like a sports team or something like that kind of do well and can keep operating. But like I said, go back 15, 20 years, there were promoters, local regional promoters, there were small local venues, and a large percentage of them are just gone, decimated. They're a thing of the past. They're probably a Starbucks or something like that now.
Done anything for its bands. Even Lawrence will concede to this and say that they do offer upfront guarantees and have solid Live Nation representatives that do their best to advocate for the band's interests. Even so, there are a few clear things that could change and go a long way towards showing musicians that Ticketmaster and Live Nation actually care, steps that they just don't seem willing to take. Lowering their cut on merch sales would be probably a good starter, or making people more aware of their off-platform ticketing. For instance, did you know that in many venues' contracts, 10% of tickets sold can go to fan clubs or artists that have a direct relationship with? Tickets which artists can control the fees on. Yeah, according to Lawrence, many artists didn't even know that this option exists. Live Nation could put this on their promotional material and make people aware of it to show their support, but it doesn't seem like they do. Maybe because it just doesn't benefit them as a company. Who knows?
That's exactly why. And like I keep saying this, they have no reason to do better business practices. They get no pressure from the government. The pressure they do get from the government, they can easily bypass. They all these rules were set in place on this hearing. They're bypassed. Like I said, Ticketmaster was founded by a lawyer. These people know how to play the game. They're not, when you have this kind of money, you can't really do anything to them. The amount of money that the government would have to spend just to take something like this to trial, it just wouldn't be worth it. The public image of it would change if taxpayer dollars were going to help billion-dollar corporations win a legal battle, because that's really what it comes down to. Companies like SeatGeek, who are also billion-dollar corporations. I think SeatGeek owns like 10% of the market share. So the market share of ticket sales is about a $70 billion industry. So 10% of that, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. So if the government cracks down, they're literally just cracking down and helping other billion-dollar companies with taxpayer money. So the public image of it would just totally change, and it wouldn't. That's why it doesn't happen, and Ticketmaster just continues to do this. So when she says, why doesn't Ticketmaster show them this? That's exactly why. They have no reason to. They're a profit-driven company who have obligations to their shareholders. They're not going to just be like, oh, hey, buddy, here's a sweet deal. No, they're going to try to make record profits to grow their stock, grow their investors, make more money. That's it. That's the bottom line. That's all they care about. They'll say they care about things. They'll make public announcements. But at the end of the day, they have a responsibility to their shareholders that will always be number one, period.
And to be clear here, I'm sure other ticketing companies probably have similar issues too. It's not as if AEG or their competitors are all perfect and Ticketmaster is the only one profiting off musicians' hard work. But Live Nation Entertainment is the biggest name out there, and unfortunately, they're setting a precedent for how things are done. And it doesn't get better from here either.
I'm just going to let this commercial play through here for a second. I want to take a look at something. Okay.
What do you think of when you hear the word scalper?
Scum.
Chances are you're picturing a CD ticket reseller standing outside of a concert with, a big trench coat, rip it open, and they're offering last-minute seats for those desperately in need at like 10 times the normal cost. Or maybe you're picturing the people behind these bots, those that purchased the cheapest Taylor Swift seats they could, only to turn around and make thousands of dollars off of real fans that wanted them. Whatever the image in your mind's eye is, it's probably not a positive one. The term scalper has obvious negative connotations. But these guys are supposed to be the nemesis of Ticketmaster, right? Ticketmaster has fair, if a little bit pricey seats, and then these scalpers come in, buy them up, and get more money in their pockets because of it. As it turns out, that's not actually the full story, even if it's the one Ticketmaster would probably wish you believed. A few years ago, in 2018 to 2019, CBC News and Toronto Star investigated how Ticketmaster was driving up concert prices and discovered that they were actually partnering with scalpers. After all, the higher the cost, the bigger the profit for them too. Not only did Ticketmaster collect fees twice on scalped tickets, but they don't list every seat when a sale begins either. This artificially drives the price up by making things appear to sell out, giving the impression of high demand. Certainly, a Bruno Mars concert is going to have high demand as is, but it'll look even more appealing when seemingly everyone wants to go. Plus, prices are subject to change, meaning that Ticketmaster can effectively lie, state that a show is sold out, and another 100 or so tickets for sale on their website are available a week later, but they'll charge double for it. It might not technically be illegal, but it is gross as fuck. And of course, say with me the favorite line, it gets worse, because it always does. The Toronto Star piece on this investigation is especially telling. Here's a taste. Their headline reads, "We went undercover as ticket scalpers, and Ticketmaster offered to help us do business." In case you couldn't tell,
This was a really awesome video. Go watch this video. I don't have this pulled up today, but I'll make a note to do that. Actually, I'm going to make a note right now. Give me one quick second. I want to add that to my list. What are we going to add? Journalist from Toronto Star undercover at ticket conference. Yeah, it was a really interesting video. Basically, as journalists, when they approached this conference, it was radio silence. Nobody wanted to talk to them. Nobody wanted to comment. So, against the Toronto Star's policies, as always, saying that they're journalists, and he kind of, weaved through the weeds to kind of not really play fair ball. But he went to this ticketing conference as a secondary ticket seller, a scalper, and he was sitting there with Ticketmaster representatives talking about the benefits of working with them and what they would do, and there was all sorts of things that kind of came out of this investigation from the Toronto Star. It was really cool. I'll do some videos on this because it's super interesting. But go watch this video. Put it in your favorites. Keep watching this, obviously, but go watch that video because it's beauty.
It's about to be one infuriating ride. These investigative reporters went to the Scalpers Convention in Las Vegas and found representatives at Ticketmaster's resale desk, as if they didn't have a big enough scalper problem already. Ticketmaster wasn't just saying, "Oh, hey, if you resell with us, here's how to do it the safe way." Of course not. They were actually selling software that scalpers can use to manage their, quote, vast inventory of seats. To repeat how fucking ridiculous that is, let me reiterate. Ticketmaster, who is known for having extensive issues with scalpers marking up their tickets to the point where fans and consumers feel helpless, have continued to actively encourage scalpers to come to their platform. And I'm sorry, but do they even give a shit about the fans actually seeing shows that they enjoy at this point? Their company claims that they're committed to getting tickets directly into the fans' of hands, but personally, I think that's pure and utter bullshit. Unless they want to add the statement, after they get into the hands of a reseller first at the end of it, I think this is a bit disingenuous. Besides that, this Ticketmaster representative knows that these resellers have multiple accounts, with the rep at the convention happily telling the undercover reporters that one of his clients has about 200 accounts. After all, ticket limits are around 6 or 8, and so you, quote, can't make a living off of that. The representative also seems to brag about how hands-off their approach is and how they don't send reports to the police or effectively snitch on any of the questionable clients they've got too. It's church and state. We don't monitor that at all, the representative said. Again, Remember that Ticketmaster also gets to double charge their own fees when tickets are resold too, meaning the company actively profits from scalpers being on their platform. It makes things look more in demand. Live Nation Entertainment will get a bigger piece of the pie, the fees go up. It's no wonder they're courting scalpers in Vegas convention centers. The Toronto Star added that the company's resale senior director also held a conference for scalpers, one that was closed to the media. Quote, "An image of a sharply ascending graph illustrating broker registrations over the past 5 years looms behind him. It was headlined, 'We appreciate your partnership. More brokers are listing with Ticketmaster than ever before.'" But yeah, totally, Ticketmaster absolutely cares about the fans. If all these scalpers are big Swifties, that is, then yeah, sure, they totally care. But before we go on to take a look at some of the potential and current consequences for Ticketmaster and Live Nation, let's just take a quick moment to thank today's sponsors. If you're anything like most people, setting grand resolutions for the new year doesn't really work out. By reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet. Try their Clean Essentials Kit, which has scents such as laundry sensitive skin. Really love their to start 10% off your first order. Just go to blueland.com.
Holy, that's a lot of advertisements. And then it goes into a... Alright, sorry about that. It's annoying.
Now, when all the Ticketmaster and Live Nation news started coming out, the public didn't exactly react positively to the news, as you could imagine, and senators launched an investigation against Ticketmaster in 2019. This wasn't really just about scalpers, though. Remember how they promised not to be anti-competitive back in 2010 when they merged? Well, the DOJ told everyone, hey, don't worry, we're going to be really careful and make sure other platforms can compete. But here Ticketmaster was, proving them all wrong. The senators wrote that the losers in all of this are the American people, as Ticketmaster was violating the behavioral conditions previously outlined for them. And that's true. The American people and the public at large are the ones suffering here, because they have to use a shitty platform that puts profits over their concert experience. But at the end of the day, I don't only blame Ticketmaster. The DOJ is responsible here too. Ticketmaster had already been sued almost 20 years before the merger for being anti-competitive. Musicians looked at this merger with absolute dread, and the DOJ just said, nah, chief, don't worry, we'll make sure they behave. The utter lack of hindsight is just upsetting. The Senate letter investigating Ticketmaster is a great start, and it points out to all the things it seems like those close to the situation wish they could have said years ago. More competition is needed, this is becoming a monopoly, and things of that nature. As for Ticketmaster's response to all of this, well, that's been plain laughable. According to President Jared Smith, and I quote, this is what he had to say. Ticketmaster does not have and has never had any product or program that allows ticket scalpers or anyone else to buy tickets ahead of fans and circumvent the policies we have on our site regarding online ticket purchasing limits. Then my question is, what exactly is your resale program doing? Sure, selling tickets you don't need anymore is bound to happen, but why is one of your representatives telling the Toronto Star at a scalpers convention that they know of someone who has 200 accounts they use to sell tickets professionally? And interestingly enough, one of the complaints that I didn't actually hear were people saying that scalpers were able to buy tickets ahead of fans. They were able to integrate with the fans, but if someone theoretically has over 200 fucking accounts, and now you've got hundreds if not thousands of those people, that becomes thousands of accounts. So yeah, they're gonna intermingle and just beat out fans. But I don't ever hear a complaint where someone was like, no, they can buy tickets ahead of fans. So I'm like, why did you even put that argument in there? It means nothing. Denial doesn't work that great when your representatives are caught on video saying this, Jared. By the way, like, they're the ones who were engaging with the scalpers and being all excited about this shit. Now, for legal reasons, of course, this is my opinion that he's lying, but it's also my opinion that the sky is blue and the grass is green. Now, it's also not just the senators that took action either. Fans were infuriated to hear this and they sued, calling their resale program a highly controlled black market scheme, with the suit encompassing anyone who had to buy a ticket from a professional reseller. Another class action lawsuit was also pending around this time, but for their high prices in Canada. But, and I'm about to sound like a bit of an infomercial here, that's not all, folks. Yet another class action lawsuit was filed against them only a few weeks ago because of their refund policy now. So, at the end of the day, even if you pay a ridiculously high price for tickets, potentially from a professional reseller, and they move the event, Ticketmaster might give you a hard time for trying to get the refund too. They make money with tickets being resold, yet how dare you try to refund your ticket because the event isn't even happening, at least not in the near future anyway. The long and the short of this suit is that during the pandemic, a ton of events were indefinitely postponed. They weren't technically canceled, which meant that customers weren't able to request a refund. But personally, I feel that an indefinite postponement isn't much better. The fact is that some people may need to take off work or travel or rearrange their calendars for live concerts. So when something is rescheduled, they may not be able to do that again. A customer bought a ticket to that event because that date worked for them. Expecting them to suck it up and eat the cost because of COVID is a garbage refund policy. Plus, about 90% of their events were indefinitely postponed too. So it's not as if this happened to a few people or for a few shows. It just kind of seems like Ticketmaster was avoiding reimbursements, and it's kind of as simple as that for an explanation. This is especially scummy too when you consider that people were losing their jobs during the pandemic. Imagine that one day you have a well-paying job and you treated yourself to a $600 ticket to see a rock concert. Then you lose your job, the economy starts spiraling, inflation goes through the roof, and you now can't even get that $600 back because the concert will happen eventually. And it's not.
So another interesting thing about all these things that happen through the pandemic with live entertainment, I'm not going to say what companies practice this, but there's certain rules and regulations set in place for kind of laying off employees and the benefits you receive from having your employees working. So some companies decided to do shows, but they did these shows so that they would have people working enough that they wouldn't have to kind of pay out or like lose money. So it really hurt the employees because they weren't technically laid off, they weren't technically furloughed, so they were technically still working. So they would have shows at the very minimum requirements to kind of keep things going. And it's just that kind of like just yet another shady practice. I'm not going to say who did it because I'm sure a lot of companies kind of did similar things, but luckily it didn't happen to me. But I had definitely had some friends who are employees, not contractors like I am, and they really got screwed around by the companies that they worked for. And they'd get a call one day, they're about to be able to qualify for like employment benefits and things like that, and then they would get a call saying, all right, you're gonna go do this show. And they would do a little like hotel show, like they had like certain things where like, or like a drive-in show through the pandemic. So that's kind of another shady thing that happened through all this pandemic stuff, along with shows getting indefinitely postponed and not offering refunds. And, Ticketmaster wasn't the only, and Live Nation weren't the only promoters and ticket companies doing this. Everyone kind of does, because like the artist kind of gets an advance, and like there's like a huge upfront fee to book a show. So like that money moving backwards to like the promoter and then to the fans is not an easy thing to do. So that's just unfortunately the way it works in the music industry right now, and that's why a lot of these kind of things happened. It's kind of like a necessary evil almost, because like like an artist does put a lot out to book a show. I don't really see a way around the artists getting big upfront fees to kind of say yes to a show. So I understand why it all happened. It's not necessarily like the fault of Ticketmaster, I'd say, but really, they should have done something. They take it on these refunds. They just, and anything would have been better than nothing, right? If they said, look, we're sorry, you know, we want to give you some kind of offering instead of a refund, a partial refund, like a gift certificate for a future event. Anything would have been better than literally nothing, which is what they did. So yeah, there was a lot of really, the pandemic just messed up a lot of things in the music industry, and like I said, like with not just like the refunds and stuff for the consumers, but all the workers in the music industry, and the artists, you know, they were the ones who really got hit the hardest, because a lot of the industry workers and artists, they don't have full-time jobs, they're contractors, so you know, they don't have any like benefits to fall back on, or you know, vacation time to cash in. You know, like there's the few people who did have kind of, you know, some funds for a rainy day, did better than others. But you know, well, like myself, I was lucky enough I had some savings, and I was lucky enough I got a job like halfway through the pandemic in the industry, which was really cool. But you know, even with my savings and even with that job, that year wasn't great for me. You know, I made no money. My bank, I just watch every day. I watch my bank account dwindle, and you know, some people in Canada, anyways, had that for upwards of 2 years. So, and you know, you can't not give these large companies, you know, a role, not give them a role in that. You know, you know, they could have done things to make it better for the workers, but it just seems, and the artists, but it nothing nothing really happened. Like people had to end up getting whole new careers or moving on entirely. It was a real dark few years, for a couple of years, for the workers in the entertainment industry, and of course the artists as well. But yeah, the ticket refund thing is, um, you know, I get why Ticketmaster and Live Nation don't do it, or like offer full refunds. Then you know, they'll only offer partial refunds, or you know, refunds when available, kind of things. It's totally understandable to me, because so much money has to go out once you announce a show. You know, it's planned months and months in advance. The promoter has to pay to get a stage. The promoter has to pay to get all the lights and audio, and like the money. Basically, as soon as that contract is signed, the money gets sent to the artist. The promoter starts giving out deposits for all of the gear and everything, and there's huge money to be put up front. So to offer refunds on a show is really difficult, because you know, then the money is already spent. Like the money made is like from like the last, you know, maybe 50% of ticket sales, and maybe like and up, you know, like that initial 50%, like the promoter's probably not even recouped anything yet. So it's that's why you don't see refunds in ticketing, and a lot of people are upset about it. But I don't think a lot of people really understand exactly why. I don't really see a way around it. I've racked my brain about how to do that and offer refunds with ticketing, but it's a very complex issue. And I would definitely am going to explore it more, though. Like, it would be amazing if there was a way to structure a show, where you know, you weren't as dependent on on ticket sales, where you know, maybe everybody gets a little bit less of a deal, you know, like, and you know, the bonuses come after, you know, and like there are different ways to structure it, that would make it a little safer for the consumer, and you know, But the other side of this is, if you allow like the ticket exchanges, which is where all these resellers come in, and that's how they operate. It's hard to curb the ticket scalpers and the bots, if you're not offering uh, customers a chance to resell the tickets. So when you buy a ticket, you can't go to the show anymore. You can just resell it on uh, the ticket seller website. That's it's not as good as just getting a refund, but at least there's a good chance you can recoup your money. But that also opens the floodgates for the bots and the ticket scalpers, and the ticket prices that are 10 times the amount of the ticket originally. So it's the consumers and the artists and the promoters, they all kind of have to look at all of these problems, and find a way to solve the refund and ticket transferability without opening the floodgates to be vulnerable to ticket scalpers and bots. And that getting that information out to the public who may not know about um, the way ticketing operates is quite a difficult thing to do. So I don't see consumer habits changing anytime soon, and it would take a lot of education, and public outreach to kind of make people understand why the refund policies are the way they are. But I think definitely with like something like I'm doing, it's not going to solve these issues perfectly, but it's going to at least round off the edges and make it smoother for everybody involved. Like no organization is ever going to be perfect, but I'm just rambling now, so I'm just gonna keep watching this thing.
Not like this is some hypothetical statement or theory that I'm putting in front of you. This is not some implausible event. This is pretty much exactly what happened to lead plaintiff Derek Hansen, who helped spark this lawsuit when he was tired of Ticketmaster's treatment of him. And Derek is far from alone. After this latest scandal with the Taylor Swift incident, many are speculating if this is the end of Ticketmaster's monopoly. They've clearly had controversies before, but none have been quite this public and messy either. Back in 2013, for example, they had to pay $23 million after forcibly enrolling customers in a $9 monthly rewards program. A rewards program that offered no real benefits whatsoever, might I add. And as gross as that is, it's paled in comparison to seeing $20,000 Taylor Swift tickets and hearing their representatives talk about reseller partnerships. No one seemed to care too much about their security breach a few years ago either, because it's something that's become depressingly common too. Dumb subscription fees, selling data, and even the fact that they're a monopoly is just also standard and expected of large companies at this point in time. But this time, Ticketmaster seems to have gone too far. And I'd say between the 2019 and 2023 controversies, they deserve to be separated from Live Nation at the very least. I'll be curious to see what comes of this investigation. That's a show I can't wait to see. Though I won't be going to Live Nation Entertainment for the tickets to see it. But with all of that being said, that is where we're going to end today's episode.
So yeah, I have to agree with Illuminati here. I'm gonna exit out of this so you can see all the information here. Just maybe let's go in here a little bit, just so. So thank you to Illuminati for this video. They do a lot of really cool other videos, so go check them out. I commented right here, gave them my support as well. I thought it was really well put together. A lot of time went into that. So, as a music industry professional, thank you so much. You're really helping us out, and you're helping out the consumers buying the tickets. Okay, so I still want to talk about the not-for-profit, and we're going to get into that. I want to just do one little article here that that video didn't touch on. Just let me pull it up here. Um, and then we're going to kind of go into another big scary thing about the music industry. So let's go to here. So Ticketmaster pays 10 million criminal fine for intrusions into competitors' computer systems. So basically, what happened was a competitor of Ticketmaster was literally being hacked. So a former employee was being used by Ticketmaster to gain entry into the systems of their competitor. And what did it say here? It said um, the stolen passwords. Yeah, here we go. The stolen passwords were used to access the victim company's computers as if that were an appropriate business tactic. Today's resolution demonstrates that any company that obtains a competitor's confidential information for commercial advantage without authority or permission should expect to be held accountable. Now, where does it? It said something. I just want to find where it says it here. Anyways, basically it's so they went in using an ex-employee's passwords, and they were stealing data, like your data, and they were using that to for like market research purposes to see who was buying tickets to these events, getting emails and all sorts of information. And yeah, they were literally hacking into a competitor's system, and they got fined $10 million for it. And like I said, the ticketing industry is a $70 billion a year industry that Ticketmaster owns 60% of. So 10 million is, you know, nothing at all. It's literally chump change to them. So they can literally just like squash a competitor by, you know, hacking into their systems, getting all of their client information, figuring out, you know, whatever they have on their system. I'm not sure exactly what they took, but and then they get paid. Then they have to pay $10 million. It's like, you know, it's it's absolutely ridiculous. If a person did that, they'd be looking at jail time. They'd if you have a permanent criminal record, they probably couldn't get a job in any sort of field that required any kind of any kind of like security access, or any kind of criminal background check even. But the largest corporation in the music industry, you know, hacks into a system of a competitor, and literally nothing happens to them. It's a $10 million fine. They're making billions of dollars a year. It's just like, that's their cost of doing business. That's where their ticket fees that you pay go towards. And who knows what they paid that person, that ex-employee. Like, there's this is just what they've been caught for, so who knows what else they're doing. It's they have, without a question of a without a shadow of a doubt, they have a track record of shady business practices that are well known to the public, that have articles from established journalistic newspapers. And it's the Department of Justice has investigated these things. They have these emails from competitors saying that Live Nation is threatening them. it's not a secret at all that not only they're a they're not a monopoly because they there's other competitors, they don't own the whole market, but they're bullying competition, they're acting as a monopoly, let's say, and nothing's done about it. This is the most that's been done about their anti-competitive behavior is a $10 million fine. And the company that was the victim of this is not even in business anymore. So that's something that I haven't seen many people talk about in all of this. People are just kind of concerned with ticket prices and things, and that's fine. They should be, but I think if you look back into the history of Ticketmaster, the history of its cases by the Department of Justice, but also things like this criminal fine, it paints a picture of just a bully, really. Anyways, on to other music news, and it's not good. Let's go here. So music catalogs are selling for serious cash, and now Wall Street wants in. So historically, music catalogs have always been a hot ticket item in the music industry. Usually, they're bought up by bigger artists that kind of can afford to buy back their catalog, or they'll buy another artist's catalog, or it's always typically been like some kind of music related purchase. But now Wall Street's getting in on it, and there's whole investment firms that specialize in selling music catalogs. So if you thought it was bad when big record labels and big management companies had control of music, wait till these investment firms do, and they have absolutely no ties to music or art. They're strictly an investment company. They're treating artists' work as you would currency. That's literally all it is. Now, through all this, there's been a lot of talk about copyright laws changing. So typically what happens is if there was a record label and an artist would have like a term of their agreement, right? So a record company would front the money to an artist to make an album, and the artist would get like a lump sum payment at the beginning, or maybe like a couple payments, but the ownership of the copyrights were the record companies until the contractual obligations were fulfilled. And then what would happen was, I believe it's called a revision or a revisionary clause, where once the artist had kind of paid back that initial investment of the record deal, then the copyrights go back to the artist. So now what's happening, as Wall Street kind of sinks their claws into this, is there's been changes to I think it's called revisionary law or revisionary something. I can't remember. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know this. And also the length of copyright laws. So you can only hold copyright on something for so long. That's why you hear things like public domain. So like a song that's like 100 years old, the green grass of home, or other like folk songs, there's exceptions. I think like Happy Birthday has a copyright on it or something like that, but there's all these songs that are what are called public domain, and all public domain is it's art and creations that have passed their and in inventions even that have passed their copyright time frame. So things like the like say like the combustion engine probably had copyrights on it. They only last like so long. Same with music. They last an X amount of time. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how long it is. Maybe it's different for certain things. But anyways, so the copyright term length is getting extended now, and also the revisionary um, laws are getting changed as well. So, as Wall Street comes in, they have way more money than record labels do, and way more investors and potential buyers, better legal teams. So, all of these copyright laws that are there to protect an artist's intellectual properties are being changed. And, you're seeing these giant investment firms kind of buying them up and then protecting their assets. So this is a huge, huge change in the music industry right now. I don't think, besides like obviously the, market shares of Live Nation, Ticketmaster, this has to be like the number two thing that is just going to absolutely destroy the music industry. And the reason I say this is number two is because for 15, 20 years now, album sales aren't necessarily a band's bread and butter. It's been touring. That is the major money making avenue in the arts. So it's not, I don't think this is as important as, the Live Nation Ticketmaster thing, but, it's definitely big, and it's definitely going to change the way that artists make albums. And I hope that, artists more and more are not signing on to these record deals and they're keeping their intellectual property. They find other ways to make their album rather than getting like a big upfront loan from a record company. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to keep following this. Let's just go down here. Some major artists that have sold their catalogs. Neil Young, Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, Shakira, Jimmy Levine, Bob Dylan, and I believe David Crosby just sold his as well. But yeah, it's crazy, huge money, big purchases, and it's definitely going into the wrong hands. So it's a very interesting time in music for sure. So I'm going to get into this not-for-profit presentation now, and I'll try and go through it kind of quick because the episode starts in 25 minutes. So just give me one quick second here. I'm going to get everything prepped up. And here we go. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I get into this, I've been kind of dropping doomsday advice and information on everybody. So I want to take a second, and I want to just give, it's Valentine's Day, so I want to give a message to the people I love. It's kind of crazy. I met Cupid the other day, and I was like, man, Like, can you like help me on Valentine's Day? I want to tell someone how I feel, and I'm a little shy, so I need your help. And he said, sure, give me a couple $100 and I'll do it. So I gave him a couple $100, and he's helping me out. So here it is, from me and Cupid here to you.
And I will always hate you, Ticketmaster, and I really hate you, Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster, it's me, Baby Cupid, the patron saint of love. And you know what? I love everything. I love from the lowliest slug to the most beautiful eagle from all the people on earth. I love them all. The one thing I hate is you, Ticketmaster. I hate your stinky fees. Mostly I just hate your fees. They're too big. I hate how you're a giant monopoly and it makes Baby Cupid's blood boil. So this Valentine's Day, when I'm coming to earth, flapping my angel wings and bringing everyone love, chocolates, and all that good crap, I hope you guys all get boils. And if I had an arrow that would give it to you, I would, because you're rotten, Ticketmaster. You don't deserve a Valentine's Day. And I got a message here for you. My rant is over, but I got a message from the Jack Over podcast, which everyone should listen to. And here's
Jake Over. Jack Over. Pay Cupid $200 and he doesn't even get your name right.
Message from the Jack Over podcast to Ticketmaster from Baby Cupid, the patron saint of love who loves everyone but Ticketmaster. The message is this. Bang!
What? What's happening?
I don't think that's really Baby Cupid. The Jack Over podcast wanted me to do a message about how much Ticketmaster stinks, but they wanted a Valentine's Day theme, so they mailed me this mask. It said Baby Cupid mask. That's not a Baby Cupid mask. Anyway, it's me, B.A. Johnson, Hamilton Entertainer. Also, I hate Ticketmaster too. They're the worst.
They are.
We got Valentine's Day song for Ticketmaster from the Jack Over podcast.
Jake Over. Man, he lied to me. He said he was Cupid. It's actually B.A. Johnson. Swindler. When I pay you $200, I want my name right. It's, come on, man. Come on.
Everyone should listen to a nice music podcast.
It is a nice music podcast.
Ticketmaster. I hope you have a worse Valentine's Day than me. I'm gonna spend my Valentine's Day alone. In a dark room, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna think about my choices and where I went wrong. And goddamn, I went wrong. And I'm probably gonna eat a leftover Delicious pizza and tell myself it's delivery. But I'm gonna know I made it, cause I made it for me. My Valentine's Day feast is delicious. Goddamn, that's so sad. But you know what? Ticketmaster, I hope your Valentine's Day is worse than mine, cause you're fucking evil, and you suck, and you ruin my concert experiences every time. One time I saw a Kiss, don't judge me, I saw a Kiss at Molson Amphitheater, or whatever it's called now, and the price to the show. Ticketmaster fee was bigger than the Kiss ticket itself, and I thought to myself, that everyone in Kiss is a huge piece of shit, but they should make more money than Ticketmaster did, and they did not. They're like 1,000 years old, and they're flying on wires and spitting blood, and Ticketmaster made more money than them. And it sucks, and I hope their Valentine's Day sucks, and I hope they all get sand in their eye. Watch the Jack Over podcast.
Jake Over.
It's really great. I have heard Happy Valentine's Day.
Well, I thought Cupid was going to do me a Valentine's thing, but I got ripped off. You can't trust strangers you meet on the street. But thanks, B.A. Johnson, for that. I feel the same way. Alrighty. So, let's get into this. Okay, so this is kind of a brief overview of the not-for-profit I'm doing, the reason why I'm doing it, the mission statement, the structure I'm going to be looking at, and the services I'll be offering to build and grow. So it's kind of a brief overview, and this is going to be part of a information package I give out to artists, venues, and promoters, and then also for public relations and marketing to consumers and people who are going to be buying tickets. So here we go. The music industry has been struggling for decades. Slowly but surely, as with all big business, few rise to the top as they gain market control, competitors have a hard time operating and sustaining. We see this not only in the music industry, but with all industries where there is a monopoly or one company with a large market share. We are here for developing artists struggling to get their music out, as well as developed artists who are struggling paying high fees to promoters and management and finding it less and less profitable to keep a larger touring team operational. We're here for small, medium, and even large-size venues struggling to keep the lights on and the doors open, while the horizontal growth of monopolies like Live Nation and Ticketmaster hurts local and regional enterprises from attaining economic growth as a company and restricts their ability to engage in job creation and labor market expansion. So that's kind of why I'm doing it. It's no secret that there is a dominant market share in live entertainment. It's just growing and getting larger and larger. And Live Nation Ticketmaster is just able to like push away people who aren't going to play ball with them and, you know, develop the artists who are. So it's important. This was important when I started talking about this 10, 12 years ago with my buddy Luke. And for years, I've been kind of going over in my head how I'll do it. And, you know, it's time to do it. That's why I'm doing all of this, because 10 years ago when this merger happened, it was already bad and it's just gotten worse. And it's gotten worse with everything else too. So, you know, even if like another company like SeatGeek or whatever the bigger competitors are, they're a profit-driven company. So even if they kind of surpassed Ticketmaster, Live Nation, you know, chances are they're going to be maybe not, you know, doing the same practices as Ticketmaster and Live Nation, but because they're a profit-driven company, they have obligations to their shareholders, and all of their decision making is based on financial reasoning, not growth of the industry and, you know, other metrics that can be measured as a successful operation. So that's why I'm doing this. And if anyone has any questions about why, or just let me know. I'll be happy to chat about it more. Or if you want more details, we're going to kind of go through it as we go. But so here's our mission statement. And again, this is just this is my first draft of it. I had my friend Aaron kind of make some grammatical adjustments, and you know, she runs a not-for-profit as well, so kind of changing some of the language to kind of suit that world. So the mission here is simple. We want to make the music industry easier to navigate for artists, venues, and promoters by building a symbiotic relationship between all parties and cooperative operating strategies. By using our collaborative efforts to demonstrate and prove that there are sustainable ways of making music and putting on shows, other corporations that make decisions mainly for financial reasons may feel pressure to practice more fair and equitable ways of conducting business. Our organization not only helps its members, partners with a wide range of membership benefits, we help the industry as a whole by transitioning to a more sustainable practice and operational guidelines that create more equitable access for all in industry professionals. That's industry professionals or whatever. I forgot to erase that. That was one of her. Let me just erase that now. That's embarrassing. And I don't know how to spell. That's so funny. We're here to build and restore a collaborative relationship between artists, promoters, venues, ticketing agencies, and fans buying the tickets to the shows. With our membership and partner programs, we will empower artists, venues, and promoters with free consultations, resource navigation, grants, and partnership opportunities. As these members and partners grow, the easier it becomes for us all to operate to attain long-term stability. We firmly believe a community and partnership approach is necessary for the industry rather than a profit-driven, competitive approach. With these philosophies in mind, we will enact change within the music industry in a positive way. We will help all those involved have a long and sustainable career due to an increase in collaboration within communities, networking, and mentorship with industry professionals, and increase in knowledge and resource navigation. So basically, when I thought about community and community growth, I looked at the NFL, the National Football League. What the National Football League does is it all of the owners pool some of their money and they put it towards teams that make less money, so they can, afford better players, they can afford better amenities, they can afford better seats and stadiums, and it creates, like, through that profit sharing, creates just a better league because there's more teams, there's more competition, the games look better on broadcast, and everything's better because they kind of pool and profit share that money. And I'm thinking, like, why don't we do that with the music industry? Why don't we, all of these fees, that's $70 billion that are ticket fees alone, so much of that money that goes to the shareholders and CEOs and all of these middlemen that get paid for doing and adding little to no value. That money can instead go to these grant programs that I'm talking about, and they can go to, like, a small venue that needs a new soundboard, or an artist that needs, new tires for their van, or a promoter that needs a little help with a marketing budget because he can't afford to get on a radio station. There's tons of ways this money can go, and as we put money into the industry, that industry will grow. And as that industry grows, there's going to be more places to play shows. There's going to be more artists playing these shows. So there's going to be more shows happening. And it's going to create this robust industry that is solid from the bottom up, not just from the very top and then no support for anything else. So that's why this community profit sharing approach, as opposed to a profit driven competitive approach, is really key in, making the music industry a better place. Who we are. Now, keep in mind, this goes a little bit into the future. I'm not there. I'm not here yet. I don't have a board of directors yet. We'll get into my short-term and long-term goals at the end, but this is just purely for the presentation purpose, so you can kind of see how I'm going to structure this not-for-profit so it can be utilized to the best it can possibly be. So our board of directors are industry leaders in their respective fields, consisting of promoters, venue owner-operators, musicians, marketing, public relations, and financial advisors, ensures all high-level decision-making and planning works for all stakeholders involved. Our board it will be comprised of elected members voted by members and partners of this organization. So to be on the board, you have to be voted in by the members of the organization. So any board position will have a vote, and it'll be democratic between the artists and promoters and venues, and we're going to see the best people available for the position at the top and making these decisions. And then, yes, so when I say these high-level decisions will be based on what's best for all the shareholders and stakeholders, not shareholders, it just means that it's going to be a diverse board with everyone who is involved in putting on shows is making decisions on how the show will operate. It's not just going to be a promoter that has, a large market share making all the rules. We're going to have meetings, and there's going to be the artists involved, promoters, venues, and ticket sales. And we will sit down, we'll create fair and equitable ways of operating within our organization. So here's kind of a overview of the board members. So we got a chair or CEO. This will be me to start. And that's just like a little bio. This is for, when people go to the, when we bring this to potential investors and partners, they'll kind of know who our organization is. So there's going to be a CEO or a chair, a vice chair, a treasurer, an administrative director, an artist rep, a venue rep, a PR and marketing rep, and an HR and staffing rep. So with those positions, I feel that there's going to be a very diverse conversations and decision making and the voting on the direction of the company, with artists, promoters, and venue reps in there. Everybody's voice is going to be heard, and all of these people will be having smaller breakout meetings with their members. So members who are artists, they'll have meetings with their artist rep, and then that artist rep will bring all of that information to the board. So, if the members aren't feeling the artist members, they're not feeling their voices are being heard, or it's not going in their direction, they'll be able to, in the next election cycle, vote for an artist rep that will, bring their voices to the board when we make all these, key decisions. So this is how I want to structure my board. I might, take somebody off to make, we need an odd number for the board. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 here. So this is kind of good. But, I think maybe a PR and marketing rep and an HR staff rep might not need to be on the board necessarily. But, we'll see how it goes. So this is kind of how I'm looking to kind of structure this organization a little bit. It will fluctuate, I'm sure, but this is, you get the idea of where I'm going with having diverse representation in the board. So what we do, it's kind of going to be a big organization, and it kind of has to be. Whether we're just partnering or we're doing this internally, that will fluctuate as this organization grows. But we will be focusing on artist management, concert event promotions, ticket sales, venue operation, partnership grant programs. So we also offer free consulting to all members and partners. And for non-members, we'll offer these services at industry standard fees. Our cutting-edge ticketing technology is a service offered as part of our partnership program, but anyone can use our technology and website to sell tickets. I can't really talk about the technology right now. Like I said, it's something I've been developing for over 10 years now. It's really going to cut down on the scalpers and bots, which have always been a problem. I really want to tell everybody what I'm doing, but I really don't want my ideas to kind of, maybe be stolen by, a larger company. So I'm kind of keeping it close to my chest. But it is really exciting technology. The few people I have told have been pretty excited about it. And yeah, I wish I could say more about it, but so a little bit on the consulting. That's part of the kind of resource sharing. So anyone who's a member, not necessarily a partner or, basically like doing business like directly with us, but just a member. A member could be, just somebody who's kind of signed up for our mailing list and can attend meetings and stay up to date and have a vote. We're offering free consulting, and that will be through our resource sharing. So usually what happens when like any artist management company or record label, or any company in general, they just have a Rolodex, if you will. I don't know if they call it a Rolodex anymore, but a contact list of different services. So like what a label would have is marketing and PR companies, different studios, different engineers, producers, all of these services that are they'll arrange on behalf of an artist. So what we're doing, even for artists that we aren't directly managing or have partners managing, we're offering all of these resources to any artist who wants to use them. It's just information. It's not anything that is really that valuable, but artists pay a lot of money to have access to this information via management deals, record deals, etc. And like I don't think giving that information away is bad for business. Any business I've ever done in the industry is all because of the working relationship that I have with my partners and clients. I can give somebody a number to a company that will give them audio and lighting and staging, But if that person I gave the number to and myself both called this company, I'm probably going to get a better deal. I'm probably going to get better service, and they're probably going to just go above and beyond for me because I've been working with them for so long. So, sharing information, it's not it's not a big deal, I don't think, at all. But what it will do is just be an extra tool for anybody to access, and they can go on and they can make those relationships with those contact information. It's then up to them if they want to take control of their career and they want to manage themselves. Here's some resources. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. We're not here to lock people into management deals and things like that. We're here to help, and if you want to manage your own career, all the power to you. I think that's great. It's it's at the end of the day, you're just, all you are as an artist is a business, and you should be able to operate that business however you want. I don't believe in bullying practices, and resource sharing is for everybody. It's just information. Literally, they could probably Google search all of it and take some time. All I'm doing is saving them some time, really. You can get numbers of a marketing company, but if you want numbers of a marketing company in a list that's really going to work for artists and has been proven to work for artists, then you can just sign up to be a member and have the access to that information. And it's streamlined specifically for artists. And like I said, it's all about the relationships you have with these companies. It's not necessarily you just have their number and it's going to solve everything. But, it's definitely at least a little bit of a leg up. And it's really the least that anyone can do. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Shit. Give me a second here. Okay, I have 4 minutes to wrap this up, so I'm going to go through this super quick, and then we're going to go over to my YouTube channel that's not live, and we're going to watch the episode. So I kind of went through all the services here. So artist management. As an artist managers, we offer a wide range of diverse options for artists. We offer free consulting and mentorship, and both short-term and long-term services based on the individual artist's needs. If you want help releasing your first album, or you want to help managing your entire career path, we don't lock artists into long contracts or penalize artists for moving in a different direction. We also offer our artists internal grants from our partnership grant program. We're also a ticketing agency, so with in-house ticketing capabilities, we can offer artists, promoters, and fans a diverse array of ticketing solutions that work best for them. Artists and promoters will have flexible and fair ticketing options prior to going on sale. Our cutting-edge technology combats bots and ticket scalpers to ensure market value of the ticket goes to the artist, promoter, and venue. For the ticket buyers, we provide safe exchange programs, ticket transferability, and full refunds whenever possible. We also are a promoter, and as a promoter, we give artists all the tools and support to put on their best performance. We offer competitive rates as well as high level of service with local promoter reps that are there to work with you, not for us. We make seamless transitions from city to city when booking tours and deliver the same quality concerts at every destination on the tour. We develop local communities and partners to help with traditional marketing like local ads and radio, as well as social media data to target potential ticket buyers interested in the artists we're promoting. Most importantly, our show contracts are clear and transparent. There are no hidden fees or extra charges. We make show settlements easier, and it helps artists budget their tour. Venue operations. We're going to develop existing venues and build new venues where needed to connect a network that is easier for artists to tour, with shorter distances between markets and built-in audiences. Through our grant program, we offer venues funding for show-related items like PA systems, box office tools, staffing, and information to maximize their profits and sustainably grow. We provide box office support, operational support, collective buying power, and marketing strategies. Now, our partnership and grant program. Now, this is the money that's going to come instead of going to shareholders and CEOs and other places that ticketing fees go, like Sabotage, like $10 million fines for hacking people's systems. Like, all that money is going to go back into the arts. And so artists, venues, and promoters can take advantage of our partnership grant program, funded by ticketing fees that would normally go to CEOs and shareholders. As a not-for-profit organization, we put those funds back into the industry to create a cyclical, sustainable grant program. Venues creating better spaces for shows and creating new venues from the ground up. Artists being able to fund their tours, and promoters having a marketing and operational budgets. We can all grow together. Think of it like profit sharing in the NFL. The NFL puts funds into smaller markets that they pool from larger markets. This helps them have more teams, more games, more content, and generate more revenue with their internal investments. In the music industry, this means more bands, more venues, more shows, which means more revenue for all involved. So these are some of the goals that I'm working on right now. So this month, I'm going to be registering this not-for-profit. I'm going to keep building awareness on social media just like this and on TikTok, and keep having discussions with my colleagues and other industry people. I plan to grow my Discord community and add all these resources that I'm talking about into that Discord community. And I'm going to have focused discussions and chat groups. I'm going to be creating fundraising decks, partnership decks, corporate fundraising decks, and individual fundraising decks. I'm hoping not to have to do individual fundraising, but we'll see how all the fundraising efforts go when we get there. So then midterm, we're talking like spring, summer of 2023. We're going to begin fundraising. We're going to begin developing the ticket site and app. We're going to promote shows, route tours for artists. We're going to build partnerships with artists, promoters, and venues. And we're going to be offering free consultation for members and partners, and paid consultations for outside of the organization. And then in the long term, like 1 to 5 years, we'll be launching our ticketing site. We're going to be opening operational headquarters. We're going to launch the partner and grant program. We're going to get into artist management, and then we're going to be opening venues where we don't have partnerships, or there is partnership, but there's also room for growth. So that's about it. That's about all on this presentation. I'm sorry I don't have time for the Q&A, but if you do have questions, you can come over here, and we're going to be chatting here. So if you just go to that link, I'm going to be switching over there right now. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night, and come over and watch that link. It's the new episode.